Welcome to guess what day it is. It's phone day. Let's hammer. It's phone day. Can't get my punch out. Turntable day. Did I not say nerd alert? Looking at my collection, most of the phones in my collection are made by Western Electric. Western Electric was the manufacturing arm of the Bell system. The Bell system was pretty much the phone system in the United States. There were some independent Bell or telephone systems throughout the country. They were rather small, but the Bell system, otherwise known as Ma Bell, pretty much ran everything. They were later broken up in, I believe, 1982 into lots of different smaller sub-companies, including Western Electric being broken off into a different type of company as well. So lots of videos out there on that. We may touch that on some other video at some point. But so going from the top, it's kind of my older phones. First phone is a model 510. So this particular model has a line key that allows you to switch between two different lines. This one is a model 500. Has a straight cord. This one's probably the oldest phone that I have. It's from 1955. The older phones have a different type of plastic. This is a tenite or soft plastic, and then the handset is Bakelite. So it's a much different material than the newer phones, which were made of ABS. So you can even hear a difference in the density and everything with the two materials. So this is a model 1500. This is one of the first phones to have a touch tone feature, very similar internally to the 500. This one has 10 buttons. The 500 kind of designates a desk phone, so 500, 1500, and then we go to the 2500, which is a 12-button phone. But as you notice, this phone doesn't have the star or pound key. They're kind of rare because as time went on, the phones got refurbished and they were upgraded to the 12-button design. If the touch tone pad went out, once again, it was replaced with the 12-button version. The inserts, these are interchangeable, they're replaceable, so it was a pretty easy swap. So not many of them remain. There are 10-button versions in most of the other designs. The Trimline, the Princess phone, there was a model 1554 as well, but all are very desirable because not many of them stuck around. So moving down, we have model 2500. Once again, that 500 in the model number is consistent. So these are early 70s. They're all hardwired cords, and they have early faceplates. So it's kind of a clear faceplate with a ribbed colored background. So it kind of gives it some depth. It's easier to see it on the green than the other ones. The 1500 has a very similar faceplate to this one. And the red one is really kind of hard to see. So these are all, once again, early 70s. As the phones progressed, and once again, as they were refurbished, they were fitted with modular cords, which are much easier to replace. If you want a longer cord, you just basically push a tab and it releases. So that'd be the Same as this guy right there. So once again, that's kind of why I like these, because they are pretty much original and in pretty good shape. Moving down, we have our key units. So they are office phones that have multi-lines. They are controlled by a KSU unit. It's a key service unit. It's a centrally located, basically, device that runs all of the features of the phone. The dials and the networks and everything are the same as what you would find, similar as what you would find in a normal phone, but they do require that extra equipment to make the lights and the hold features work. You can convert them into a normal phone. The line key will work in the fact that you can disconnect by popping the line button up, but other than that, you still need the key service unit for that. So once again, this one has that same cool design on that. So as opposed to this one, which has, it's a newer phone, it's just a rough textured plastic. It is interesting that when these are lit, the whole thing lights up, which is, I think it's kind of cool. But as you can see on this phone, that bleed through in the light just isn't there. So I don't know if that's why they changed it. It was probably cheaper. So these are model 2564, a model 565, and a model 2565. Once again, that 5 in the number is the same as the other ones too, so there's a lot of consistency with that. So moving on, got some other phones down here. Got another 500 from the 60s, another 2500. This one also has that same design. We have a trimline phone. This is an interesting phone. It's the first phone to have the dial in the receiver itself, so it was much more convenient. You can do everything with one hand. It's got a flash button so you can hang up and not have to hang the whole receiver up. As you can see, this is backlit. That requires a separate transformer in order to light that up. So there are other phones, like the Princess phone, which I don't currently have one in my collection, that also had the same thing to backlight the dial. Newer phones in the trim line and the Princess phone had LEDs that ran off of line voltage instead, which we'll look at a different version of that. Another feature of this one, being an early version, it says Bell System Western Electric on the bottom, and there's no bracing in here, and you can clearly see that when we move on to the other version of that. Basically, when you got these phones, you could get this, and you had your choice of a hanging base or a desk base. So the service truck would only have to have one receiver and then different bases depending on what that customer needed. So moving on, down the bottom we've got another 500 on the right. It's kind of my workhorse phone. It's not super collectible or anything, but still a nice phone. This was in our living room. We had a PBX system throughout the house, and the kids could use it and beat on it, and took it without a problem, but I wasn't real stressed about it. So these two are design line phones, which are kind of a unique concept. So you could go to a store, kind of like a Apple store, pick out a phone, and purchase it, from what I understand. However, the internals were still owned by the phone company. Back before the Bell system was broken up, you rented your phone. You never owned your phone. So you would buy the phone, but you were still renting the guts of the phone. So the dial, the network, the bell, all that stuff was property of the phone company. So, so this one's kind of unique. Very cool. There's just something about the 70s kind of stuff that is kind of neat. It's probably, I don't call it ugly, but it's definitely unique enough to be cool. So, and then this one is a stowaway phone. So cool thing about this one, you just have that sitting. Never know it's really a phone until you open it up. They have a spring cord, so it rolls itself back up. It is not real common for that to be working. It's not the most reliable way of, just not that durable, I guess we'll say that. There are many, many versions of that. And actually that insert, the wooden box was made obviously separately from the guts. And actually this unit, the beige section just kind of screws in, and that was used in many different types. There was a roll top. There was another one that kind of had a rollback acrylic design. I think it was called a Telstar. So very, very unique. They are, once again, this is kind of the stuff I saw when I was a kid. So it's very kind of intriguing for me. So it's kind of why I like to collect it. Moving on, we've got another design line phone, which I thought was really, this is a kitchen phone. This is a chalkboard, or it can be like a pegboard, a cork board that you can post notes on as well. There's a slot on the side where you can put your telephone book. There's even a little like slide out thing to help be able to pull it out and reach it. But it's basically a trim line. The guts inside are trim line, and then it's got a trim line receiver. This is the newer version. Notice it's got bracing across here. The numbers are square, and it also has backlit keys, which it's really hard to see with the light, but they're LED, and it's powered by the actual line voltage coming into the phone. So you didn't need a separate power supply on that. So then up here we've got a model 2554. There was also a version of this, the 1554, which would be a 10-button version. So going to the other side, I've got another 2554 that is wired with a remote key unit. So that works just like the key phones as well. Then I've got two other phones that are on my desk. I've got this guy, and you have to forgive me. The model number escapes me currently. 10-button. Once again, it's a very typical phone of the late 70s, early 80s. Then the phone over here is a Panasonic phone. Kind of looks out of place with the rest of the phones. Now that phone programs the PBX system that I have, that is the backbone of this entire display. So all these phones are wired, they all work. And this PBX system is actually what makes it all happen. So this is a Panasonic KX-TA624. So it has the ability to run 24 extensions, which I have running to all the different phones. And then it also can take 6 incoming CO or central office lines, basically the lines coming from the phone company. This is expandable. It comes with 1, 2, or 3 cards, which can be for having all 3 cards gets you all the capabilities, the 6 incoming lines and the 24 extensions, which this is set up for that. So I have that running behind each individual phone. I've got wires coming in the back, and each one of these is set up so I can connect to the back of the shelves. So each phone has its own extension number that I've got on the front. So, for instance, this guy's 110. I can call 109. Super simple, very effective. The good thing about that unit, it also allows for rotary phones. So I'll download the same. This is one reason why this particular system is really good for collectors, because you can use it for your rotary phones. Now, we talked about needing a KSU for these particular phones. Well, the KSU units are electromechanical. They're old. They're quite collectible, so they're getting kind of expensive. I used to have one a long time ago, and I sold it to fund another hobby, and the prices now are quite high. But there's a gentleman named Greg who hand builds modern versions, so they're completely solid state, much smaller, much more reliable. They don't take near as much power, and they're fairly inexpensive compared to purchasing one off eBay. Most of the time, if you get one on eBay, you have to find different line cards and all that kind of stuff, which can be a challenge. This is pretty much ready to go out of the box. Seriss Corporation, I believe, is the name of his company, and I'll put a link in the description below if you want to get hold of him and get one as well. So now I have lines going from the PBX unit that runs all the phones going into the KSU unit as well. So it is also integrated into the phone. So extension 102 and 103 are part of the PBX system. So I can call another phone. I'll call 109 again. So works just like the other ones do. So put that off hook. Now, so you can see the line light is on consistently on all these. So I can put it on hold. Pick it up on a different line. And then I can actually hang it up. We can call in. Use this phone. Call in extension 102. So again, they're all lighting. Now, you can answer it from any of the individual phones. Let's call another one. Let's call extension 103. Now I have the phone set up a little bit differently. So I have batches of phones ringing. So 103 is basically the black phone, that phone, and the yellow phone. Extension 102 is the other two phones. So they're not ringing all together, which, you know, it just makes it a little more quiet when I'm messing with this stuff. So once again, you can put all those on hold. I can pick them up on a different phone without a problem. I can even go up on here once again. Super simple. So one of the good things about the Seriss KSU unit is it has a built-in intercom. So if you push the intercom button, which is line 5, you can buzz a different phone. There are internal buzzers on all these phones. So if I push the button number 1, this is the phone on my desk. Number 2 is actually this phone. Number 3 is this phone. Number 4 is that phone. It also will decode rotary. And it does bring a talk path between the phones too. So once you buzz your coworker, they'll pick up and you can talk to that coworker easily on that as well. So I do have 2 lines coming in. One is from a Ooma VoIP service. It's pretty cheap and reliable. We do not have regular phone service anymore. Not many people do. In fact, the copper lines going to houses are pretty much on the way out. There's not too many of them. And then I have a line 2 coming in, which would be from a, I think it's called a Ulink. It's a Bluetooth device that connects to my cell phone, so I can actually make phone calls with these phones through my cell phone, which is pretty cool. If I dial 9 on any of these phones, it will pick up a outside line, which would be the Ooma box. I can make a phone call out.
Good evening. Today is Saturday, October 12th.
So I can also dial 81, which would be CO, or Central Office Line 1, which is the Ooma. If I were to dial A2, it would pick up the Ulink dial tone on that. If line 1 was busy and you hit 9, it would patch you into the next available line. So once again, that's what's really neat about that PBX system. So there you have it. Hope you found that interesting. Remember, hit the like button, subscribe, tell your friends. We'll see you on the next one.